guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. We are back for episode 9's review of Put a Ring on It for season 2. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the episode. So this episode picks up from last week, continuing from Jessica telling us how she felt about the fact that Eric did not acknowledge her for Mother's Day. So she spoke about it a little bit, expressed why it made her sad, and then she even went on to say that she actually had to take herself out to dinner for Mother's Day. So from Eric's point of view, he finds that she didn't communicate whatever she was going through, and so Dr. Nicole basically let both of them know that they want the same thing from each other and therefore they need to communicate. After that, Dr. Nicole asked for updates on everyone's dates, and so we started with Sean and LaRonda. Sean basically said to us, or to Dr. Nicole, that he has realized that it's okay to go on these dates. It's okay to have a connection with someone and not take it any further. And so subsequently, he has decided that he doesn't want to go on any more dates because he wants to focus on his relationship with LaRonda. So, of course, Dr. Nicole asked LaRonda how that made her feel. And she said, well, it sounds like growth to me. And I must agree, that's a big step for Sean. And on the flip side, LaRonda was asked about how she felt about Derek. And she just let Dr. Nicole know that she really likes him. And out of everybody that she's gone on a date with so far, he's the one that she finds she has the most in common with. And not just like, oh, we like the same things, but in common in terms of he could actually be a potential partner. And so when asked if she wanted to go on a third date with him, she actually agreed to do so. Eric spoke about how much he liked his date with Leilani, and for whatever reason, he felt the need to tell us or tell Dr. Nicole in the therapy session that, she's very touchy-feely, she likes to touch his shoulders and so on. And sometimes I feel like Eric does these things to get a rise out of Jessica because, of course, she was bothered by it because she said that's something she asked him not to do, and to ask him from the time that she came to the house, she being Leilani, to let her know that the touching is inappropriate. But I don't know, he seems to get a thrill out of, saying it in front of her. And because she is bothered by it, of course, he's going to continue. But anyway, he did say he's going to try and cut down on that. So let's see if that actually happens. Jessica spoke about her date with Sean, and she said, she really likes Sean. And what she really likes about him is that she can be comfortable in terms of, she said she didn't even wear makeup on the date because she felt comfortable enough to just be herself when she's around him. She says she also finds him exciting and she appreciates the attention that he gives her. And then in her confessional, she actually says that's something she doesn't get from Eric. So, of course, she wants to go out with him again. Eric also accepted a third date with Leilani. And more than that, when we cut to his confessional, he actually said, well, the question is, and I quote, should I be getting married if someone other than Jessica can make me feel this good? Because he finds that he feels too good when he's out on his dates with Leilani, and for him, he's taking that as a indication that maybe he's not ready for marriage with Jessica. So as far as I'm concerned, Eric is not ready for marriage, and these little tidbits that we're seeing, especially him being so touchy-feely with Leilani, I think these are some of the tells that these two are not going to end in an engagement, but let's see what actually happens. Anyway, wrapping up the therapy session, Dr. Nicole tells them that the assignment for this upcoming week is that all of them as couples, they need to speak to each other as well as speak to their family members about the familial relationship, and that way they can know how that relationship is going to affect whether or not they get married or they go their separate ways. So now the therapy session is done and we're heading home. And so this week we're heading home with Jessica and Eric. So we're in the car with them and they started talking about the situation between Darian and Alexia. And basically Jessica said in her confessional that the whole thing kind of made her nervous in terms of she kind of feels like she needs to keep an eye out for Eric because I guess she is feeling like since it could have happened to Alexia, it's very possible it could happen with her and Eric. And so the conversation moved on from there to them talking about their dates. And one thing Eric wanted to know was, while she said oh, I'm so comfortable with Sean and so on, he asked her are you not comfortable with me? And so she said, well, as of late, I have not been my full self with you. I guess she feels like she can't be fully comfortable. And so moving forward from that, Eric then asks, well, do you feel like we're getting closer or do you feel like it's something that's now getting out of hand? So Jessica tells him, well, it's hard to say because we're so wishy-washy. 1 minute we're close and we're good. And then the next minute we're not good. And she feels like that inconsistency is affecting their overall relationship. Next, we see LaRonda and Sean, who are also talking about their family dynamics, and we find quite a bit out in terms of we knew Sean didn't have a good relationship with his dad, but now from this conversation, we start to understand why his father's an alcoholic and really wasn't presently there for him. He also feels like it's been very difficult because he sees their relationship as one-sided, like he was so, I guess, you know, you love your parents so much, but you're not, that love is not being reciprocated. And so for him, it's just a sore point, his relationship with his dad. However, he is close with his mom, his sister, and I believe LaRonda also said his brother. LaRonda, on the flip side, though, she seems to have a very close-knit family. She says she's extremely close with her dad. Overall, her family dynamics, they're all very close to one another. So really, it's Sean that needs to work on his relationship with his dad. And as far as he sees it, I guess they're not seeing eye to eye because she feels like he needs to work on it, whereas he feels like if this thing is constantly a sore point for me, then why would I constantly keep doing this to myself? So he's not really excited about trying to fix things. He's just like, well, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's kind of like, well, it is what it is. That was the attitude we were getting. So after that, we're finally seeing the dates for this week. And the first date we're seeing is Eric, who goes to meet Leilani at what they call the salt room. I don't know if this is her business because we know that she's into like massage and aromatherapy and whatnot. So he goes inside and she takes him to what they call the Himalayan salt room. And immediately these two, first of all, they're in robes. Yeah, so they're very relaxed, very chill. And they were sitting upright and talking about like their relationship and the fact that they're comfortable and can be honest with each other. And eventually they move to the side to go, I guess, lie down on what looks like a stone type bed, but there were pillows and blankets, and these two are legitimately pillow talking. It was very much giving like we just woke up after doing the do and now we're having a bit of pillow talk. She is stroking his arm, his hand is around her waist, and I was just like, did we not just hear Jessica say in the therapy session that she was not comfortable with this? And then he said he was gonna work on that. And I mean, full-blown body language, physical touch, like I'm trying to paint the picture. Like it was, they were doing a lot, and I feel like it was highly inappropriate for someone in a relationship. But Eric's just being Eric. I think Eric is captivated by Leilani because of how she looks, and she is really boosted by the fact that she is giving him something that she feels like just he isn't getting from Jessica, and vice versa, because she said as much in her confessional. So the next date we see is actually LaRonda and Derek takes LaRonda on an outdoor boxing date, and these two, they vibe really well. They seem to have, I guess they're both very level-headed people. I think they would make quite a practical couple. I don't know about the connection and the attraction, but in terms of like where their viewpoints are from them talking, their interactions are great. And LaRonda tells him as much that that's something that she enjoys about him. The fact that she says in her confessional, the fact that he's confident and basically he's assertive. And then she says she wished that's something that she could get from Sean. But he was very expressive as well. He said like he actually did not expect to find someone he was genuinely compatible with. So in the next scene, Jessica and Eric actually sit down to talk about their familial relationships. And it starts with Jessica basically telling Eric that he needs to fix his relationship with his mom. So apparently the way she's feeling is that the way he treats his mom is the way he treats her. And then of course, because of his messy relationship with his mom, inadvertently, the mom doesn't like her because I guess she maybe blames her for the relationship between, you know, her son and herself. That's just how it goes sometimes. So she's encouraging him to reach out, but Eric feels like it's difficult because the type of relationship he has with his mom, he says he'll do something for her and she will never appreciate it. And an example he gave was he bought her a house and her concern was, you know, there are no furniture in it and she also doesn't have a car. So because of that, he's gotten to a place where he's just like, he'd just rather not deal with her. So, you know, I guess he's entitled to the way he felt. He said initially he felt guilty, but he's gotten to a point where for him, I guess for his personal sanity, he just feels like it's better to maintain distance. And Jessica literally starts crying and saying, but you know how important family is to me, which leads us into some of her familial stuff, which is that she's so, I guess, family is so important to her because she didn't have one of her own, at least not biologically, because she was adopted by her aunt It sounds like she had zero relationship with her mom. We find out that her mom was actually a prostitute and the family did not accept her because her dad was apparently black. So not only was she abandoned by her mom, but by her mom's people. So all in all, it just came down to her saying like she's insecure because of that, and she has abandonment issues because of that. Because it really broke my heart when she said this in her confessional. She said the way she thought about it was, if my mom and my own family doesn't want me, then who is going to want me? And I think that's why sometimes she reacts the way she reacts. I think there are some feelings of neglectment emotionally when it comes to her relationship with Eric. So I guess Dr. Nicole knew what she was talking about when she gave them this assignment, because these two definitely needed it. And this couple, more than out of the two couples, this couple more than Sean and LaRonda, I would say their familial relationships have a direct impact on how they relate to each other. So after that, the next scene was a little bit lighter. So the girls decide to go over to Alexia's house and I guess just show her some support, because now that we know officially that her and Darian are over. And so they go inside, she pours them some wine and they start talking over the pool table. And Alexia just basically expresses like how she's feeling, because they asked her like, what do we need? We're just here to, what do you need? We're just here to support you. And she says, well, I'm okay. I'm good. It's just that she went into the story of how, Darian and Kai linked up. So basically say that it's not what has happened that made her feel away. It's basically how it happened, because he was so adamant about that. And of course, everything came to light afterwards. All in all, she says that she feels like she can finally be who she really needs to be without Darian in her life. And I feel like I'm hearing the words. I just need to see the actions. And I'm hoping the best for Alexia, because that's all we saw of her this episode. So after that, we get a chance to see the next date, which is actually Jessica and Sean. And I think they met up for dinner. For the first time, I think they're having like a simple date that isn't some sort of activity. And I mean, they get to sit down, and Jessica, to me, she just likes the validation from this guy, because she asks him every single time, how are you feeling? How do I make you feel? And this date was no different. She was asking a lot of those questions, and he was just like validating her and letting her know that this is how I'm feeling and so forth and so on. We've heard all of it before. And then she asked him, well, how would you feel if this was the last time that you were going to see me? And so he was honest, he was vulnerable, and he said that of course that's not something that he would want, but if it is, he has appreciated the time that he has gotten to spend with her thus far. So she did say in her confessional that that is something that she wishes she could get more from Eric, the way that she can just ask Sean what's on his mind and he will just be forthcoming, be vulnerable. She says that's something that's so refreshing, and I think that's why she genuinely enjoys being around this guy. I actually don't think she likes him romantically. I think she just enjoys like the difference. So, when you're in a relationship and maybe you're getting 50 or 60% or maybe 80, and then you get that 20 from the other person. I think this is just a case of that, because Eric is a bit dry when it comes to the emotional sensitivity and emotional understanding. And to me, Sean is just filling that void for Jessica. So in the end, he basically wishes her, says to her that I want you to be genuinely happy, whether or not you decide to go with me. And she says that her favorite quote, I have a lot to think about. And then that was the end of their day. We didn't really see much. So at the end of all of that, we meet up back with Dr. Nicole, as we always do at the end of every episode. And she asks them, well, now I want to know, how did the family conversation go with both you couples? So we started with Jessica and Eric, actually, and we find out that they came up with resolutions for Eric to reach out to his mom. Eric tells us that because of how his relationship is with his mom, it's better for him to send her a letter, because that way he doesn't have to deal with, rebuttals and feedback, and that's something that she can keep and refer to. So he's found a no contact way to basically get his feelings out and be like, this is how I'm feeling, you can deal with it, and he doesn't want to be in any direct conflict. On Jessica's end, she says that she found out how her familial relationships actually affect her connection with people and her connection in her relationship. And since talking it out, both of them have felt much closer and they're in a better place. So the conversation actually seemed to help these two a lot. And that's not surprising, because like I said earlier, their familial relationships still have such a big impact on how they behave now as adults. So as for Sean and LaRonda, we didn't really find out much. It seems like it's really Sean who has things to work through. LaRonda just let Dr. Nicole know that my family and I, we're Gucci, we're tight, everything's A1. Sean says like, well, he has a lot of healing to do still, and so he's not sure if he wants to dredge up all of these things with his dad because that's still a pain point for him. And I mean, he went on a bit about a little bit more feelings and what he thinks needs to be done. But in the end, he really did say like it's neither here nor there to him. Like if it works out, if they sort it out, they do. But he's not really like gung ho to be in a different space with his dad. I guess it's been this way for so long that he's okay with it. So moving on from that, Dr. Nicole asked them about their actual dates this week. And of course, you know, we want to find out if they're going to continue with these dates. So first and foremost, we start with LaRonda, and she said she liked Derek, and however, she has chosen not to go on a fourth date with him, mainly because it seems her response had more to do with Sean than Derek himself. Because from her point of view, the way Sean behaved the first date with a guy who she wasn't even like into him or anything, and he was freaking out, compared to now when she's going on a fourth date with a guy she actually has some things in common with, he was very mature, and I guess she feels like he's being more confident. So as far as she can see, they've accomplished what they came here to accomplish, and so now they want to focus on each other. The second person we found out about was Jessica, because Dr. Nicole asked her how was her date, and she started by saying, oh, you know, Sean is authentic, he's romantic, because when she asked him about like, what if this is the last time you see me, he started to tear up. And basically she said right there in front of Eric that that's something that she doesn't get from Eric. In fact, she said that the only time she gets emotions from Eric is if he's angry. So Dr. Nicole asked her like, is it only when it's negative, or do you get emotions when it's positive as well? And she thought for a minute, and she said, actually no, it really is only when it's negative. Like when he's upset about something, he's never like expressed love like that or gotten teary over me just because, you know, just expressing like, oh, I love you or whatever. And so of course his response was to get upset, and in his confessional he was like, oh, so you mean to tell me that this guy of 4 dates has given you more love than me over the course of 4 years? Completely missing the point, because I feel like Eric's head is so far up his ass. But anyway, that's where the episode cuts off, and next week's clips we are seeing like, it looks like it's going to be a rocky road ahead for Eric and Jessica. There's some things that are coming up, and Eric keeps saying over and over that he feels like to get married we need to be at 100%, and then he says, well, he doesn't feel like they're there.